Alright guys and gals, in this video here, I just want to do a quick general maintenance tips, especially on like older vehicles. This is a 2008. Maybe you got teenagers, something like that, or you personally drive older stuff, and you have some oil leaks, or a lot of these vehicles tend to burn oil too. So sometimes it is not beneficial, especially with the way the intervals have changed and newer cars and all that. They're going longer on oil changes, which that's a whole nother story. I don't recommend ever going over 5,000 miles on any vehicle. Um, I typically try and do around 3,500. Um, and because, like I said, a lot of these vehicles burn oil naturally. Uh, so it's just a reminder to check your oil, do quick visual inspections, things like that. Um, and yeah, so just with that being said, just the small basic things, like checking your oil, make sure you're on a flat surface. It's not after you've driven for 2 hours on the interstate, come home and check it. You need to let it cool down at least 10 minutes or something. Let all the oil drain back to the pan. They're the two dots that you want to be in between. Typically when you're at the bottom dot, I found that you're a quart low, so you want to top it off, but you want to use like a rag or towel or old shirt or something, just something that doesn't leave any fuzz or fibers or anything off onto the dipstick. Of course, most of them will show you the weight that you can add or see the owner's manual, and the owner's manual will give you things about spare tires, tire pressure, all that stuff, along with a door card, usually in a vehicle, will show you tire pressure also. And remember, that's cold tire pressure. So again, after you've been driving for 2 hours, don't check your tire pressure and adjust it. To be accurate, you want to do it when it's cold, because the temperature or the pressure will rise the hotter it gets and the more you drive it. On this specific vehicle, this is your power steering fluid. It has a lower and upper level you want to be between, just like the dots on the dipstick for the oil. And if you're lucky enough to have a transmission dipstick, it is the same way. But it can have a certain procedure they want you to use for checking it, as far as the vehicle running, in park, operating temperature, stuff like that. That would be a specific thing you'd need to look up for your application. There's your windshield washer fluid. This is your radiator cap. Never open that when it's hot. Here's the coolant reservoir. It also has a high and a low on it. Now you have your brake fluid, which also has a minimum and maximum. Now, brake fluid you don't need to top off or anything like that unless you have a leak somewhere and you know you have a leak and you're just trying to top it off until you can get it fixed, and certain situation that's not safety related. But typically when you have a brake leak, you got issues, you need to get it fixed. What I'm trying to get at here is, say you just had brand new pads, the whole service done, change your fluid, all that, you're at the max. Once you drive and those pads wear, this is going to go down naturally. As the pads wear and the pistons close in, it requires more of that fluid to compress it. So just because this is where it is, pretty much in between, that just means that I'm probably halfway through my pad life. So again, as your pads wear, this will go down. Does not mean you have a leak or that you need to add anything. And wipers, another thing most people don't check. One thing you can do is you can just grab them and flip them at the ends like this, and if they're dry and rotted, they'll tear right off. Of course, you can clean them with alcohol swab and clean your windshield, and if they still streak or chatter or act up or whatever, replace them. But that's just kind of a quick visual thing you can do for them. Again, checking your tire pressure. If you're somebody who has the capabilities of changing a spare, you also need to keep up with the tire pressure on it. Nothing like going to change a spare and then your spare is flat. That's just pretty much what I want to touch on, is just some basic stuff that I think a lot of people have lost sight of just visually looking for anything out of place. You know, look underneath it. Is there anything wet? You see anything dripping? Or if you park in the same spot all the time and you see this, that could be a good sign you have an oil leak. Another thing would be noises. You're hearing noises on vehicles. Don't ignore them until something falls off or whatever. Some noises could be from going from extreme temperatures, like the winter time, it gets 0 degrees or something, and you know, this is moving parts and metal, and it may make a little bit of noise until it warms up. Some of that stuff is normal, natural, whatever, but don't ignore your noises. Yeah, that's just kind of a quick review on things that I wanted to point out for people just keeping an eye out for stuff. And this has a timing chain, this specific engine, so that's also an issue if you don't change your oil or you're waiting too long. Those chains can stretch and then causes it to jump time, won't run right, possibility of bending valves, just like a belt would if you didn't change it and it dry rotted and broke. So that's another reason to just stay on top of your oil changes and to check your oil. I mean, that's kind of the reason I'm making this video, is just the basics of oil, because you have so many vehicles leaking and using oil these days, and the interval's going so long that I get a lot of vehicles coming in that have low or little to none oil in them, and they're like going to the recommended interval, or they're going, 6,000-8,000 miles, almost 10,000 miles on oil change. So I usually stick around 3,500 and recommend never going over 5,000 miles on oil change. I know on the newer oils and vehicles, things like that. So rule of thumb, never go over 5,000 miles, but you definitely need to check. And even the owner's manual, I'm pretty sure most of these companies are saying that burning up to a quart 1,000 miles is acceptable. It's like, no, absolutely not. Seeing as, say, this car holds 4.5 quarts of oil and you change it at 5,000 miles, technically you'd be out of oil and then some. So check your oil, wait till it's cooled down, flat level surface, use a clean towel, wipe it off, check it, make sure you're in between the 2 dots, and if you're not, add some oil to the weight specified, and use your owner's manual, or of course jump on the YouTube and check out videos like this. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one. Keep up the maintenance.